Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to another episode of some random gameplay. This is a fun one. So this is going to be a Gruul aggro deck. Last week we finished off with the Gruul kind of Mirror March Dragons deck, which just did not work. It was an absolute failure. So I thought we'd replay a new Gruul deck with some new additions that we haven't yet seen. So I'm actually really excited about this. So looking at the 1-drop slot, we have 4 Fervent Champion. Obviously one of the best aggressive creatures. It's also an amazing target for Embercleave, which obviously is our big finisher for this deck. Pelt Collector is a really good 1-drop. It kind of helps you get up to a stronger creature long term. Same as Nessian Horn Beetle in the 2-drop slot, kind of does a very similar thing, just a little bit slower. Stonecoil Serpent is amazing in this deck. So what I really love about this, not only does it have protection from multicolor, which is just really helpful. It lets you get in for a little extra damage here and there, which is great. But it also scales with as many lands as you have. And so you can really choose, like, pinpoint the best time to actually play this out. So it also does work. It gets around Dream Trawler, for instance. If you can really get a big one out on the field, you can do some massive damage with it. So it also has reach, which is great. So there's a lot of really good stuff in the early game here. Robber of the Rich, a really good hasty 2-drop that not only steals stuff but also has reach, so gives you a little bit more longevity against some of those flyers. We already talked Nessian Horn Beetle, another good way to kind of boost up some of your early games, so you get those counters on it long term with things like Bone Crusher Giant, Questing Beast, etc. So very strong. Paradise Druid, a really good thing to have for a couple reasons. One, if it's untapped, it does have hexproof, which just means that if your opponent has a removal spell, for instance, or something like that, it's dead unless you tap this. It does give you another target as well for, like, Embercleave, for instance. So I actually really like this. Wildborn Preserver, excuse me, gives you a flashing, reaching 2-drop, which is all great, but it also, again, gets those counters boosted on top of it every time you play a non-human creature, which is really cool. You do have to pay a little bit of extra, but ideally you find the time to do that with a deck like this because everything is pretty low curve. Gallia of the Endless Dance is an interesting newer addition to this deck that I think is fun to try out. So other satyrs you control have +1/+1 and have haste. I don't believe there's actually any satyrs in this list other than technically the Gallus of the Endless Dance, but that is really not the point of this. One, it's a 2/2 haster for 2, so great off the front of it. But when you attack with 3 or more creatures, you can discard a card at random and then draw 2 cards. And what that just allows you to do is keep the pressure going. It allows you to really flood the board with a lot of stuff, hopefully get to an Embercleave very quickly because you have so many things out, and then just swing in for tons and tons of damage. So being able to draw those extra cards is really key. Bone Crusher Giant gives you a little bit of a way to target some creatures on the opponent's side of the field. So if you do find yourself in a position where you can destroy a creature on the opponent's side, it's usually good to do so just so you can continue swinging through. Excuse me. On the other side of it, it is still a 4/3 creature. This is a standard staple. You all know plenty about Bone Crusher Giant, as well as Questing Beast, a 4/4 haster, vigilance, and death touch. A little bit evasive in terms of it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and of course that combat damage can't be prevented. But not only that, it gives you a way to deal damage to planeswalkers even when you're just attacking face on the opponent's side. So it gives you a way to continue damage rolling in at the opponent, but also kind of take care of some of those planeswalkers on the side without having to redirect your entire board, which is really key. The whole point of this deck is to just slam as much damage at the opponent as humanly possible. And it's very good at that. Embercleave, we know it, we love it. It's a great way to finish a game. Comes in, hopefully you can finish the game within that turn or maybe the next turn. Just gives you a really great way to do that. Castle Embereth as a 1-of here as a way to boost all of these creatures. Pretty straightforward. Land base here, we do have 4 Stomping Ground, 1 Fabled Passage. I think we could probably bump that up, but this is just a list that we're starting with. And then Temple of Abandon, we're only running a 2-of. We don't really want to draw too many of these. This is really only to smooth out our draw later on. This is not something we want to be playing right away because we have so many early game things. So that's the deck. We're going to give it a shot here. And I do think this is a very fun one. Hopefully these games won't go too long, so that way I can get this video up to you guys today. I'm recording a little bit later than I usually do. Um, excuse me. One thing. Oops, I was bot training against with. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I did not mean to mulligan. We're gonna concede this. Okay. So I was bot training another deck here. But one thing that I do want to mention before we jump into these games, we had a new kind of thing on our website added very recently. We wanted to make it very easy for you guys to see what cards are available if you are on Patreon. For that $10 tier, a lot of people either want the mystery proxy or they would prefer to get something from, months past, something that's already been released. We didn't really have a great way to show that initially, unfortunately. We do now. That is up on our website. You can check that out, or itresolvesmtg.com. We certainly do appreciate everyone checking that out. And if you would like to sign up for Patreon, the link is down below the gameplay. And the current month's rewards are actually there cycling for you. So definitely would appreciate you guys checking that out. Hopefully you do. We certainly appreciate all the support from the patrons. We've been very, very fortunate thanks to all of you. So thank you genuinely for helping us do what we do. And it looks like we are against either the Simic or like the Sultai kind of style deck. We've seen a lot of these recently. Very, very land focused. A lot of times their big finisher is a Nissa, and it does look like we're at Sultai here. Drawing a lot of green, which is interesting. I think I'm just going to go ahead and play the Paradise Druid here. One, it smooths out our mana, which I think is very important. It also does buff up the Pelt Collector. The other option here would have just been to run out a Pelt Collector and then Temple of Abandon. May have also been the correct play. That way we get bonuses off of this. But I think we'll be okay here. I'm not significantly worried about that. Ember Cleave. Very, very good. So I will play Pelt Collector here, and I will play the Temple of Abandon. This is our turn off for sure. So we will go ahead and do that. And we'll just pass here. Excuse me, guys. We'll see what they do. They certainly have all the mana in the world, but they do only have 2 cards in hand. Okay, Hydroid Crisis. Very, very good. Certainly. All right, so what do we want to do here? We can just play Questing Beast and swing in, which is not necessarily a bad idea. We cannot Ember Cleave this turn, so the only other option would be Wildhorn Preserver. We can... No, I mean, we could if we just swung with this, which I don't necessarily think is the great way to do it. I'm going to go ahead and put the Questing Beast out here. Pump that up, and then I'm just going to go ahead and swing with just the Questing Beast. They may very well just take the 4, they may trade it off here. They certainly have reason to think trading it off would probably not be a bad idea. Solely because they have Uro in their deck and things like that, so... And especially they did draw a couple cards off that, so I'm sure they've gotten some other pretty big threats going for them here. Certainly could use a second red. We do have it with Paradise Druid, but it's obviously not amazing. Okay. Yep. So they took care of Paradise Druid, which does take us off of Ember Cleave, which is important. And they do, of course, have the backup Crisis. So we will see. Okay. Also, I always forget I turn the volume down when I'm not recording. So we'll pass here. At the end of their turn, we'll play the Preserver. We don't want to give them the opportunity to remove it. We kind of want them to spend their mana this turn. We are certainly not in a great position here, though. They've got quite a few threats out with a number of cards in the graveyard for that Uro. So the expectation is they're going to be playing that out. Yep. Yep. Go ahead and flash this out now. We'll see what they drew. Ah, seriously? That was bad luck, but okay. All right, we're just going to go ahead and concede here. Unfortunately, we're drawing a lot of forests, and they've got plenty of pressure, so definitely not a great start for this deck, though I will say, again, I do think this is quite a good deck. I don't know that's the best Gruul aggro deck out there. I certainly don't think I think it's missing a few pieces. Things like the Gruul Spellbreaker, very, very solid card that's obviously not included here. And we don't know yet if the Gallia is really worth it to play. Considering you're not getting a buff off of anything, it's literally just for that card draw. Maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not, but that's what we're here to find out. So we will see what we can do. Yes, we'll keep this. It's a bit sketchy, but we will try it. I'm going to lead on this solely because I would love to get as much damage in early as possible. Depending on what deck we're against, every point certainly matters. So, looks like mono red. Okay. So first things first, we'll go ahead and attack. And actually, that was not technically a misplay, I guess. We could leave up Bone Crusher Giant, but I actually think I am just going to continue. Considering they're playing red, my assumption is they're going to have quite a few removal pieces that we're going to need to play around. So I'd like to get as many threats out as possible. And certainly, the quicker we can boost this up, the better here. We're going to lose a card. Let's play the Temple here. Actually, don't think we want that. I think we just want to draw more action. I'm going to go ahead and attack him with both here. With the intent of Bone Crusher Gianting. Perfect. Before that hits. Okay. So this procs this. Let's get this out here. And I think we will pass this turn with the intent of Bone Crusher Gianting, which is going to proc both of these. And then we can hopefully get in for quite a bit of damage here. Attacked with that too. That's interesting. I'm gonna block here. My assumption is they've got something, and that's fine. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Interesting, interesting. Let's get that out there. Pump up that Bone Crusher Giant, and then my worry here is Embercleave, obviously. We're not going to attack here, I don't think. It's a little bit tricky because the Embercleave really, really makes it difficult with that double strike. And they certainly have more than enough to get one down very quickly here. So, what's our shot? They are attacking with everything. That's certainly what I was worried about. I think what we do is this. This is obviously like the biggest issue. Okay, so they do have the Embercleave. Yeah. Well, definitely think we're in a bad place now. Not sure what we can do. Down to 1. Yeah, I don't think we can do this, so I'm going to go ahead and concede again. Unfortunately, not a great showing. And I don't know that I misplayed necessarily. Very possible on that block I could have. I'm sure you will let me know in the comment section below. Hopefully, by the way, everybody is staying safe out there. I know this COVID-19 thing. I'm in South Carolina, and our governor, as of today, around 4 p.m. This afternoon, finally was like, hey, everybody stay at home. Took him quite a while to get here, but I do think it's the right move. And hopefully everybody is staying in and staying safe. Let's not take unnecessary damage. Let's go ahead, play the Pelt Collector, excuse me. Looks like we're against yet another aggro deck. Yep. No blocks. Sure. Be mana efficient. Makes sense. God, that Annex is such a good card. For this mono red deck, it's just, oh, amazing. All right. Now we're in dangerous territory, though. If they have a land, okay, they don't, so no Ember Cleave this turn. So my assumption is they've got another one of these, so I am not going to block here. Okay. Let's get that out there. Let's move to attacks. Let's attack with both of these. See what they do. Okay. Get Paradise Druid out. And then we'll see what we can do about flashing in the Preserver. Okay. I am going to double block here. Not good. Okay. It's going to be a lot of damage. I think we just lose. Yeah. God, not a good showing from this deck. Obviously, we can tell it's not as good against the mono red decks. And I think it just comes down to they have better threats. So, unfortunately, not a great showing. We will give it one more day, I'm sure. So we'll give this another shot and see how we are doing. I have high hopes for this deck. I do think that it has some very cool ideas. I think Gallia is a very cool card, but we didn't really get to see it do its stuff this time around. Against all these aggro decks, unfortunately, we were taking hits right and left. So I don't necessarily think we misplayed too hard on this one. It is a learning experience every time, so this is certainly learning a new deck, but Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you've got suggestions or if you've got deck lists, anything, whether they pertain to this deck or not, please share those comments down below. We certainly would appreciate that. Any and all interaction is certainly welcome, and we certainly do appreciate it. So thank you guys again. We really do appreciate you watching. If you would like to check out our Patreon and our website, please do. Our Patreon's down below. Our website is itresolvesmtg.com. Our Instagram link is also down there if you're interested in checking that out. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next gameplay video.